You see a runaway trolley. Let's just say it's a train.
Well, no, let's say you're in San Francisco.
Well, but I think the tracks. Okay, trolleys. The key here is there's tracks involved. You see a runaway trolley moving toward 5 tied up or otherwise incapacitated people lying on the tracks. You're standing next to a lever or a lever, whatever you prefer, that controls a switch. If you pull the lever, the trolley will be redirected onto a side track and the 5 people on the main track will be saved. However, there is a single person lying on the side track. You have 2 options. Do nothing and allow the trolley to kill the 5 people on the main track, or 2, pull the lever, diverting the trolley onto the side track where it will kill 1 person, which is the more ethical option. Now, on its face, you may have a knee-jerk reaction and think that you know what your answer would be. But the reason that this has been considered a difficult ethical conundrum, or just an ethical conundrum, is because there's an active choice being made to kill someone that you are responsible for,
versus a passive choice just to sit there and let something happen.
In other words,
you weren't technically involved.
If you weren't present, like if you weren't present and this situation just happened in the universe somewhere, you wouldn't be morally culpable for anything that happened. But because you're there and now you have the option to pull the lever, that's what makes it a difficult situation. Now, the trolley problem has been used or referenced quite a bit as people are trying to program autonomous vehicles. So self-driving cars are being given basically programs to be able to
decide,
make these kinds of decisions. And interestingly, most ethicists or most engineers who looked at this have said that the trolley problem is not a great example of something that an autonomous vehicle needs to navigate, because it's so binary. Because basically, autonomous vehicles do not enter situations where it's like 1 person or 5 people. Like, that's very uncommon. More often there is a range of possibilities, and even within those binary possibilities, there's a bunch of different outcomes that could happen. And so it's actually way more complex than just giving it some trolley problem program, or however you would go about programming a car. So, but having said all that, let's just say this is the situation. Now, typically this doesn't happen. People don't get tied to railroad tracks outside of cartoons usually, or old Westerns. But let's just say.
I didn't think masseuses used latex gloves either.
That's right. So let's just say you're in this situation. What would you do?
I feel like I would pull the lever, because I feel like not doing anything is that's still it's an act of omission,
Well, the first thing that would happen to me is if I was in this situation, I would be like, oh crap, I am literally in the trolley problem right now. I'm like, what? How did I get here? Literally, this is happening. There's 5 people on this track and there's 1 person on this track, I'm right next to the lever?
That's funny, but no, you wouldn't. I mean, here's an interesting side note. In Michael Stevens' series on what was YouTube Red at the time, YouTube Premium, which who knows what it's gonna become, YouTube Super Premium. Super
time.
Nothing.
Right, it's just gonna be nothing at some point. Yeah.
Because you just be in front of the paywall.
Right.
I hope Buddy System moves in front of the paywall.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know if that's gonna happen.
We hope it will.
So you may know his channel as Vsauce, but he had a series called Mindfield with a D,
with a D.
And he actually set up it was like an elaborate prank.
People thought they were literally,
hoax, where they were literally lured into this trailer and allowed to take a look at the track switching mechanism. Then the guy who was in charge of it had to go to the bathroom or something. And then at that moment, looking through the windows or on the monitors, he says, okay, train's gonna kill 5 people or just 1 person over here, and then they could either pull the lever or not. And I mean, they gave psychiatric evaluations to these blindsided people beforehand in order to make sure they weren't gonna send someone into a catatonic state or something.
Right, yeah.
And even though they did that, it in and of itself became ethically questionable, and Michael had a lot of difficulty.
Submitting people to the trolley problem was an ethical dilemma.
Yeah, they went through with it, but man, it's fascinating because people were freaking out. You know, as you would imagine.
This is not a normal thing.
You know, it's just like, I mean.
We typically don't have, unless you're a doctor, you typically don't have people's lives in your hands. This is an unusual situation for most people.
I felt horrible for the people because they, I mean, like,
do you remember like
what
most people
PTSD
did?
Like, I mean, they only showed, it's not like a legitimate sample size. I don't know how they chose who they put into the edit, but everything happened. Like, somebody ran out, somebody broke down, somebody switched the track, somebody didn't. You know, it's like, it all happened.
Now
they didn't have any statistics. They didn't do like, it wasn't like a study. It was just a
Now we polled
YouTube
the staff here, right?
Yeah.
So
you didn't. Yeah, and Kiko said there was like 12 or 14 mythical team members who were.
Okay.
But what's your answer? I mean, you think you would?
I would definitely pull the lever to kill the one person.
You would kill one person in one sense of the word, but you would save 5 lives.
I don't see a lot of difference because I'm there and I have the option, and my inaction will result in the death of 5 people. I don't. The whole thing about one is passive and one is active. In that scenario, because it's so simple and so clean, and also I don't know the people, so I don't have it. You can complicate the trolley problem, which we'll do in a second, but an uncomplicated 5-6 strangers, in that scenario, I'm pulling the lever, no questions asked. With little to no regret.
You don't know how much psychological ramifications it will be with either way.
Well,
but I mean,
of course. I'm just saying that I would make the decision without regret. I'm not saying I wouldn't suffer from the consequences of having killed somebody.
I predict that mythical team members are going to agree with us.
Yeah. I think this one's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so option 2 is pull the lever.
No,
and,
So
and
option 1 is do nothing.
The majority of people did say they would pull the lever, but Lucas, Kevin, Nick, and Paisley said they wouldn't.
Wow, that's
call them out.
That's an interesting group.
That's a weird.
What do those guys have in common?
They don't have any backbone, apparently. They can't take action.
I don't know. They just
no. I don't. They're not here to. Dave and Matthew, Kiko, Kristen, Chase, Caitlin, Aubrey, Casey, and Bethany. They'd all pull the lever.
Okay, well you're all right. Now, here's what I'll say. Take the trolley problem, but the one person on the track is my kid. Yeah. Your kid.
Yeah.
What do you do now? I don't know those 5 people.
What if it's my 3 kids, and then over here on the other track are your 2 kids?
Well,
why are you laughing?
Who's got the lever?
You. I'm sitting there watching though.
And whose kids are going to die if I don't do anything?
I'm gonna pull that lever. We're gonna both be yanking on that lever. I gotta work on my yanking skills.
Well, okay, all right. You know what?
I gotta out yank you. To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch the previous episode of Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist to the left.
And don't forget to click on the circular icon to subscribe.
If you prefer to listen to this podcast, it's available on all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for being your mythical best.